So yeah, okay. Now I'm going to actually the code base that Senra has been implemented. So I'm going to there is a you can see there is a pull request. I introduce myself after I review this code base, so then we can start working on the front end. So bear with me a moment. So I'm going to pull request, and here you can see the pull request that Senra is created. So what I'm going to do is he actually request a review from me. So I'm going to like add the review for this code base. So actually it's code reviewing means you are not identifying errors, and you are not like find what is this code base throw some exception when it goes to live environment. Basically code reviewing process is it's like just check whether your code is like up to standard, which means if the person who implement this code has used like a good good coding practices. Right. So basically the code reviewing see the basically check whether your code is good enough. Like that's the whole point of code reviewing. So this is how the code reviewing page look like. So here you can see there are 4 file changes, which is from feature slash backend to the our main branch. So what I'm going to do is I'll add my review. So basically here you can see it is fine. So what I'm going to do is make it as viewed, and then you can just check this checkbox, then it will make it as viewed. So I'll do the same thing to these changes. Here you can see basically this basically this collaborator means it was not there in the master branch yet, right? It is in the feature slash backend. Once we pull like merge this pull request to the master branch main branch, it will like load this content to the main branch, right? So here you can see the master branch doesn't have a like code like this. That's why this side is empty. So I make it as view. Here you can see the server.js file. Main branch is like currently have a file called server.js, and it contains some set of code. And in addition to that, after this like merging this pull request to the main branch, it will add some more code to the master branch server.js, right? So this is how you can see, okay, after I merge this like pull request, it will add this course like const course require line to the master branch main branch, and the same thing is happened to these lines as well. So what I'm going to do is this is perfectly fine. What I'm going to do is make it as view, and I can approve approve this pull request, or I can request some changes to do. So if one of your group member have implemented like garbage code, which means there is no no consistency between code. So basically you can request some changes from that developer, right? So if the code is always looking fine, and it is up to standard, so you can approve it. So what I'm going to do is this code is absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to approve this code and have a message like leave a comment, looks good to me. In GitHub, this is how we like give comments. So it looks good to me, and I have approved this one, and I will submit my review, right? So here you can see the change approved. So I can able to merge this pull request to the main branch. So here you can see there this branch, which means this branch means feature slash backend branch doesn't have any like conflicts with the main branch. So we can securely merge this pull request to the main branch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge this pull request. So here you can see it's merging. So it's successfully merged. So what we can do is I'll go to the navigate to the main branch. Here you can see now main branch have all the changes that Senora has implemented in his feature branch, right? So now all looks good to go, like it's absolutely fine. Here you can see it is added as a contribution. Like basically in GitHub, commit your code, add a pull request, create a pull request, and review your code, raise an issue, is all these considered as contributions, right? So yeah, so our backend is now like perfectly fine to connect it with the front end. So now I'm start my session, so which is the front end implementation. So first I'll go back to the presentation slides. I hope you guys can see my presentation slides, right? Uh, uh, Dinanaya, just tell me if you.
Yeah. We can see.
Okay. So let's start the implementation of front end, right? So first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Rusiru Abhisheak, and I'm third year software engineer undergraduate at SLIIT, and also I'm an intern software engineer at Red Hat Global. And also I'm working as a developer in dev team in MS Club. So yeah, that's enough of me. So in this after this session, you will be able to understand what is React and how to think in React, and create a React application, and what are the content inside the React app. Like basically I will come back to these points later. So, and how React works actually behind the scene. So, and then implement a React application for our implemented backend API. So I will again come back to this API word. API I actually as Dinwan mentioned, like most of you like confused with the word API. You have somewhat familiarity in backend, but the API word is somewhat new, I hope. So, and finally host the application into some kind of a hosting platform. So this is basically my content. So let's go through each and point one by one. So let's move on to what is React, right? So what is React? So most people think React is a program. Is it a programming language? React is a programming language, or React is a framework. So actually, React is not a programming language, and also it's not a framework. So then what is React? So and also I'll tell you what is React actually. So I go to the official React web page, like reactjs organization.org. So this is the like official website for React, right? So in when you land to this official web page, right? Actually, it says that this is the like header, like you can see, React, right? So React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. So in here, they actually perfectly mention React is a JavaScript library. So this word library is the most important one, right? JavaScript library for building user interfaces. So basically, React is not a framework, it's not a language, it's a library. So you might ask, like, what is the difference between framework and library? So හිතන්න දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉස්කෝලේ යනවනේ මම අර ඉස්කෝලේ කතාව මැදලා ගන්නම් ආයේ. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉස්කෝලේ යනකොට දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ඉස්කෝලේ පටන් ගන්න හරි වෙලාවක් තියෙනවා. සහ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට අඳින්න ඒ කියන්නේ මොන හරි නියමිත ඇඳුමක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට කොණ්ඩේ කපන්න ඕන විදිහක් තියෙනවා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කන්න වෙලාවක් තියෙනවා. යන්න වෙලාවක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේ ගොඩක් rules තියෙනවා ඉස්කෝලයක් ඇතුලේ. හරිද? ඔයාට ඒ rules ඔයාට වැඩ කරගන්න ඕන නම් ඒ rules වලට යටත් වෙලා තමයි වැඩක් කරගන්න ඕන. හරිද? ඔයාට ඒ rules වලට උඩින් ගිහිල්ලා ඔයාට කැමති කැමති දේවල් කරන්න බෑ. හැබැයි දැන් ඕගොල්ලෝ A level O level කරලා A level කරලා දැන් ඕගොල්ලෝ කැම්පස් ආවිලා කැම්පස් ආවට පස්සේ ඕගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙනවා ඇති දැන් කැම්පස් එකේ rules තියෙනවා නමුත් අර ඉස්කෝලේ එක තරම් rules නැහැ හරිද දැන් ඕගොල්ලන්ට කැමති වෙලාවට එන්න පුළුවන් කැම්පස් එකට කැමති වෙලාවට යන්න පුළුවන් කැමති වෙලාවට කන්න පුළුවන් ඕගොල්ලන්ට පාට ඇඳුම් අඳින්න පුළුවන් ඒ වගේ කැමති hair style එකක් දාන්න පුළුවන් ඔයාට තේරෙනව නේද චුට්ටක් අර ඒ කියන්නේ අර නිදහස චුට්ටක් වැඩි ඔයාට වැඩ කරගන්න පුළුවන් මේ ඒ අර ටයිම් එකේ කියන්නේ අර ඔයාපර කියන්නේ ස්ට්‍රික්ට් කළනවා මෙන්න මේ වෙලාවට එන්න ඕනේ මෙන්න මෙහෙමයි ඔයා ඉන්න ඕනේ එහෙම ඔයාට අර රූල්ස් තියෙනවා හැබැයි එච්චර වැඩි නැහැ දැන් like framework and library like you can assume that school is a framework right and you can assume that library is a Unicity is a library, right? If you use framework, you have to follow the rules that the framework provide to implement your application, right? When we talk about library, there are some rules, but you can come up with your you can like control the library in order to build your stuff. You are the person who define how this library going to work. But if you're going to implement some application using framework, there are so many rules. You have to follow the rules in order to build something. But in library, you can use the library and you can do whatever you want. There are no rules like when it compares to framework, right? So that is the amazing thing between framework and the library. So library, you can do more stuff with your own, right? So that's the basic difference between framework and the library. So React is a library. Okay. So and also you cannot use we are not using React to build backend, right? We just only use React to implement front-end interfaces. Here you can see they mention building user interfaces. They are not saying backend APIs, backend, right? Just for user interfaces. Okay. Then that's the what is React. So and also I will put these like links to refer, and there are docs as well, as Senura mentioned in his presentation, use documentations. Don't go to the actually I within the time Senra is giving his demo. Actually I saw some questions. Most of the people ask can you provide some YouTube URLs, YouTube videos to follow these learn this stuff. It's good to watch YouTube, but instead you can use this documentation. So in React, when you go to the React documentation page, there is a separate link called docs. In here you can have entire knowledge about React, how it works, what are the core concept, and what are the advanced concept. So all these stuff they documented in here. So you can actually, instead of watching YouTube videos that watching 13-14 hour YouTube videos, you can refer the documentation and see and read. You have to do some readings actually, because otherwise you cannot understand anything. So just go to the documentation and read and have a better understanding about how these things works, right? So that's the main thing. Like as a developer, when you go to the industry, they are not providing YouTube links to learn something, right? They are just tell you these are the frameworks that we are working in this project. So you have to learn this thing within a short period of time, right? So that's why
like lot of things are in the YouTube might be outdated, right?
Yeah,
Api
definitely.
like developers perspective එකෙන් නෙමෙයි එතනදී දකින්නේ තව කෙනෙක්ගේ interpretation එක, right? But if you want to get what the developer is actually trying to imply, better to read the documentation than going into YouTube and watching a YouTube video, because you are looking at someone else's interpretation of that developer's perspective.
Yeah.
And
actually
most of students are working on they are going to copy the exact same thing what that YouTuber is going to do.
Exactly.
So don't do that thing, because at the middle you might be definitely get confused, because you don't know what is the point that video is going to be end. So what you have to do, what you are going to normally, those students are going to do, follow that video and copy exact same content into your project. So don't do that. Just get the understanding, just get the concept beyond that video. So always we are recommend you to follow the documentation, because it's original and it's time to time it's updated. That's why even Russell also said, because using a video content, you are getting some kind of interpretations from someone else. Yeah.
මේ තව දෙයක් ඇඩ් කරන්න අනික මේ මොකක් හරි error එකක් ආවහම ඒක හොයන්න stack overflow තියෙනවා
error එක copy කරලා එහෙම ගහන්න Google එකේ එනවා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ බය
මම දකින ගොඩක් දෙයක් තමයි දැන් අර පොඩි error එකක් වුණත් error එක අත්තම හොයන්නේ නැහැ. ස්ක්‍රීන්ෂොට් එකක් ගහලා අපිට එනවා. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ පොඩ්ඩක් අර Stack Overflow එකේ වගේ සර්ච් කරලා බලන්න බැරිම මොකක් හරි ආවොත් තව කාගෙන් හරි අහන්න.
බය නැතුව ඕගොල්ලෝ ඔය එන error එක ගහන්න හැම Google එකේ. අනිවාර්යෙන් එනවා. ඕක ජීවිතේ ඕක එන පළවෙනි එක කෙනා ඔයා නෙමෙයි ඊට කලින් සෑහෙන්න ඊට තියෙනවා.
yeah
සුරියා.
ඒක තමයි ඇත්තටම මේ like ඕගලන්ට ඇත්තටම ඕන YouTube වීඩියෝ එකක් බලන්න ඕනේ කෙනාට මේ documentation එක තේරෙන්නේම නැත්තම් දැන් සමහරලාට මම කරන දේ තමයි දැන් මට මොකක් හරි අලුතෙන් මොකක් හරි framework එකක් ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕන නැස දැන් මට මොකක් හරි දැන් මම documentation එක කියන මට touch නෑ මොකද්ද මේ කියන්නේ කියලා. එතකොට මම කරන්නේ පොඩි short YouTube video ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ කෑල්ල අදාළව පොඩි ඒ දැන් මොන හරි framework එකක් ගත්තොත් ඒකේ කෑලි උගන්නන videos තියෙනවානේ. Most of the time they actually have their own YouTube channel. හරිද? එතකොට මම කරන්නේ ඒ කෑල්ල දාගෙන මම මේ කෝඩ් එක බලනවා මොකක්ද එයා ගහන්නේ. ඒත් එක්කම මම අනිත් පැත්තෙන් ඕපන් කරගන්න documentation එක. එතකොට මම බලනවා හරි මේකෙන් මෙන්න මේ ස්ටෙප් මේ එතකොට මේ ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් මේක කොහොමද ඇප්ලිකේෂන් එකට ඇක්චුअली ඒ කියන්නේ ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරන්නේ. එතකොට අන්න එතනදී මම අයිඩියා ගන්නවා හරි මෙතන මේම තමයි මේක වෙන්නේ. අන්න ඒ වගේ පොඩ්ඩක් ඔයගලන්ට එහෙම ඔයගලන්ට documentation එක අමාරු නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ දෙපැත්තම පුළුවන් නම් use කරන්න. හැබැයි අර අපි කියන්නේ මේ YouTube channel වලටම YouTube videos වලටම මේ වෙලා මේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ගහන එකම ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ code එක copy paste කරන්න එපා. මොකද අන්තිමේදී ඕගලන්ට අර මේ ඕගලන්ටම අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩ් එකක් නැහැ මොකද්ද මම මේ කරන්නේ කියලා. මේ ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකක් හැදෙයි. නමුත් ඒ ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එක හැදුවට ඔයාට අයිඩියා එකක් නැත්නම් මේ මොකද්ද මම කරේ කියලා ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකෙන් වැඩක් නැහැ. Right? So we continue from here. So basically this is the React official documentation. So if you want you can like actually I really encourage you guys to read this stuff because they actually have their main concept what is the behind this how this behind the scene this React work. So advanced guide, so you can go through this stuff and know these are the latest latest changes that React has, right? So here you can see this is the latest version, React version 7.0.2. So that's about documentation. So yeah, so let's move on. So I hope now you know what is React, right? React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. So and also I just immediately copy paste some questions that you guys ask, like what is the difference in React and Express. Basically React is a library for implementing user interfaces. Express is a framework for backend JavaScript backend, right? So that is the that's that. So and also here can we use Vue.js instead of React? Yes, you can definitely use Vue.js because Vue.js it's a framework, it's not a library, so it has some rules, but you can use Vue.js. So yeah, that's about React. What is React? So how we thinking in React, right? Basically more like up to now you guys have done IWT, OOP. So in IWT you use like HTML, JavaScript, those kind of stuff, right? So and also you implement like OOP using JSP servlet. So when you implement those like user interfaces in those like projects, in like let's say let's take an example, like you are implementing just a like just say timetable student management system. You are just like implement your front-end application using HTML, right? So in HTML you like just implement the navigation bar and the body of the web application and login, user profile, those kind of stuff. You implement those using like HTML, right? So and also you have to like have a like lengthy code, like lengthy HTML code having like header, body and user profile. So you have to like do some like lot of things to build a simple application. So in React actually it is easy. So once you get the idea, so it is really easy to implement user interfaces. So that's why we highly encourage you to use React or something like Vue.js, Angular. So how we thinking in React? So this is a example. I hope you know this website, right? It's an Instagram website. So like Instagram is also using React.js to implement user interfaces. They are using user interfaces because React is a product of Facebook, right? The React is invented by Facebook, so it's a product of Facebook. So like by default, they actually use React.js to implement their UIs. So in here, in Instagram web page, when you go to the Instagram web page, you can have see the navigation bar, right? This is the header, and you can see posts, and you can see your profile stuff, like suggestions for you, like some kind of those stuff. So in React, you can break down these these things into separate concept called components, UI components, right? So basically, when you see when you start thinking in React, right, you see all the things inside the website web application as a components, right? In here you can see this is navigation bar, so you can think it as navigation bar component, right? It's a UI component, right? It's a separate thing, right? It's nothing to do with this body, post, and user profile, right? So it's just a header which containing stuff that related to the header, right? So when you see this section, right, it's a profile component, right? Here you can see it will contain your name and something like that. So it is a separate component, right? It will be implemented using separate component. It is, and again, it is nothing to do with the post in here, right? It is nothing to do with the head. It's just a component right there, right? It having the implementation that is related to that component, right? Okay, and also the same concept for the post. It's a separate thing. We can have a post component, and inside the post you can see, you can comment, you can share, you can like. So these actions we can consider as a separate action component, right? So like I said, React is a entirely, it's a collection, like integration of components into a one website, right? So in React, we actually implement the entire web application as a separate components, and in the runtime, what the React does is it actually assemble all the things into a one page and render to the screen, right? So that this is how we in React. So in React, we are not going to implement this body with this in React, we are not going to implement this body stuff inside this navigation bar, right? There is no point to do that, no. So because navigation bar is this separate thing, to implement body stuff navigation bar, like in and all, right? But in React, we don't, right? We implement stuff like navigation separately, implement this post separately, we implement this profile separately as components, right? And in React, when it's rendered to the screen, it will assemble all these things into a one image and render as a one web application, nice web application. So you can have separation between components. Okay, so this is how we think in React, right? We are not going to implement all the things into a one JavaScript file. Yeah, so that's that. So I hope you guys have idea about how we think in React. So if you have any questions, just put those in the Q&A section. I'll come back to Q&A after sometimes, right? So we know up to now we know what is React. So and let me go to the points. What is React? How we thinking in React? So we covered 2 points. So now we're going to implement the create a React application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to my code editor in here, right? What I'm going to do is, before I start implementing front-end application, I'm going to get the backend application that Senora has implemented on his computer to my computer. So this is how you can control the same code in your group, right? So I'm going to like this web page, like a GitHub page, which is having our backend application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a clone of this backend code, right? I'm going to copy this here. Here you can clone any project into your local PC. So when you navigate to your repository, so there is a button called code, right? You can download this code as a zip, and you can open this code in GitHub desktop. So GitHub has a separate desktop application. So I'm not using none of those. I'm just copy this link, right? This is just a link that refers to this repository. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my code editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code. So what I'm going to do is I'm in my ITP directory. So here you can see if I list down my documents like directories in here, I have session data folder and student management frontend, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone that backend API into my local PC, right? So you can have a separate command to do this git clone, right? Git clone and put that copied URL and just paste it in here. So in here I tell git to clone the repository that in this, I'm sorry, that is in this URL, right? Okay, after this run this command, it will automatically cloning ITP application. Here you can see it will quickly download all the code stuff into my local PC. So I have the code that Senra is implemented in his PC, right? Here you can see all the code is in here, right? Server.json, controller, routes, models. So I can do whatever I want into this code, right? So basically what I'm going to do is after I clone this project, I'm navigate to that folder, right? How you can navigate, you just put cd and change directory cd and ITP, just give the folder name ITP. Here you can see ITP application, right? Application. Now I'm in that directory. So how you can run this? So actually Senra actually show you how you can run this backend application. So I'm going to like package.json. Here you can see it's not containing any scripts yet. So first we need to install all the dependencies. Here you can see in this ITP application there is no folder called npm modules. I hope you remember when Senra commit these changes, push these changes to our repository, he actually ignore the node modules, which means the git not upload node modules folder to the GitHub repository. So what I want to do, I want to get that node modules folder back, right? So how I can actually do that? Should I call Senra to send this node modules folder to me via email? No, right? So what we can do is actually we can just run a single command that will get all the necessary node modules into our local project and create a node modules folder finally, right? So the command is, it's just simple, just run npm install, right? You can like run npm install or npm I just use npm install. So and hit enter, it will like download all the necessary dependencies into our local project, right? Here you can see it will create the node modules folder automatically. So now we have all the codes, all the dependencies that we want to run this application. So what I can do is I can actually start the application saying nodemon server.js, the exact same command that Senra is given to this to give this project, right? So what I'm going to do is I just hit enter. So it's nodemon is not recognized. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, nodemon server.js. Yeah, if it is not installed, then what I can do is I can separately install it on npm install nodemon. So it will install the like these things can be happen, right? If you go on this project and then install the dependencies, like after you install the dependencies, if you run this nodemon, sometimes it's not work, right? So let's see nodemon server.js. Yeah. Not one. Please check the spelling path name server.js. Yeah. So yeah, another thing that I can do is just server. Yeah, it is starting service running and MongoDB is successfully connected. I'm not using Nodemon because I think I have some issues with the Nodemon package. So let's keep that as it is. We don't need to touch Nodemon. So in here, my service up and running and my MongoDB is connected successfully. And you might ask how I can connect to this MongoDB even though I not configured it yet, right? I'm not going to MongoDB page and create a separate database. Actually, Lasal is the person who created the database, and Senora actually used that database URL in here. So if you are in your ITP group, you have 8 members. So just one member can create the database, because if you use MongoDB Atlas, you don't need to host your database again and again, because it is already hosted database, right? You don't need to bother about hosting your database, right? You 8 of your group members can access the same database. That's the amazing part of the MongoDB Atlas, right? Even though I'm not configured it yet, I can also connect to the MongoDB and perform some actions, right? So yeah, here you can see the node server is running, MongoDB is connected. So then we can start working on the front end, right? Yeah, I'm just going to stop this server and I move to the front end application. So I have the backend application, right? Yeah. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a React application, which is our third point, right? So when you're going to create a React application, there are actually 2 ways to do that. Actually, if you can actually create a React application from scratch using Webpack, Parcel, something like configuration tools. You can use that one, and also there is a simple way to create an entire React application. You can run a simple command in your terminal and it will automatically create your entire React application for you. You don't need to touch anything, right? So I recommend, if you are beginner to React, I highly recommend to run this command instead of start building it from scratch. When you get a point like you have a knowledge how this React thing works, you can try out some Webpack and Parcel.js to create a React application from scratch. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a React application using that single command. As I said earlier, it will create an entire React application for you, right? So what is this command that does implement entire React application for you? Right? So the command is, it's a simple command, npx, not npm by the way, right? Npx create React app, right? So this is the command that you need to run, and you have to specify the application name that you're going to implement, right? Project name, basically. After giving npx create React app, you cannot have separate space, empty spaces between create React app. We need to have a dash because it's a command, and after this command you need to specify the project name that you want to give to your application, right? So what I'm going to do is, we are creating a student management system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give the project name. You can give whatever you want to your project name, but there are some constraints, right? So when you're going to create a React application using this command, there are some small constraints that you need to keep in your mind, right? So you cannot have your project name with capital letters. Basically, if I tell student, right, student management front end, right? If I run this code, this will throw me some errors because I use capital letters. In create React app command, you cannot use capital letters, right? To show you guys, I just run this command. After some times, it will throw me some errors, right? So let's check whether what is there. Yeah, here you can see name can no longer contain capital letters. Here you can see this word student management system front end is containing a capital letter S. So you cannot have capital letters into your front end project name. So I'm going to clear this one. I just again npx create React app, and I just again give the name. So and also you cannot have white empty spaces, right? Student like this is student management system, right? You cannot do like this, right? It will also throw some errors, right? You cannot do that. Like you cannot have white empty spaces between your project name, right? So yeah, because I'm already like it is start creating because I already created one. I will tell you guys again. So you cannot run empty like white spaces. You cannot have white spaces between your project, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I just create a React app like this, student management management front end, right? This is the command that you need to run in order to create React application. After run this command, this will execute some like actions, and it will create a React application for you. Like you don't need to touch anything, right? So it will create automatically, and this will take some times, like 2 to 3 minutes depending on your internet connection. That's why I already create a React application in here saying this, like this is the same name, right? After you run this command student management front end, it will create a folder like this student management called student management front end, and then it will contain all the necessary files and folders to create a React apps, right? So this is the command that you need to run. So I already run that command. So I have a React application called student management front end. So now I have a backend and also the front end. So let's start implementing front end then, right? So what I'm going to do is I navigate to the student management front end folder, just change directory, student management front end, right? And navigate to that one. Okay, so I will first, before I start implementing, I will go through the each and every file and folder, because this is not a session to like give you all the things in React, right? I'm going to teach you guys the how the React works and how you can use this library to implement your ITP project, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this folder, student management system, and I will tell you what each and every file contain and how it interact with each other. So what I'm going to do is I'll expand this one. If you like follow along with me, you most of the time like you will have a folder like this which contain these stuff. So I'm explain one by one, right? So basically node modules, I'm not going to like explain it again because Senora actually explain it perfectly, because I'm not going to actually in the front React application is also node module is same, right? It's not like it's not a separate thing. It's a like it's contain all the necessary dependencies files that we need to implement our React application. If I expand this one, here you can see like lot of packages has been installed, so you don't need to touch anything in here, right? So the first folder that we're going to talk about is the public folder. So basically in public folder you can have your like images, like basically it like containing the HTML file. So in React these are just images, right? These are just images of React, because we like run this command, it will automatically like download these images. We don't need to like touch these images. If you want, you can delete this one, right? So the most important file that we want to point out in the public folder is the index.html file, right? So this is the index.html file. So it will contain some unnecessary comments. I just remove it because it's kind of bothered me. Like I just remove this one. So yeah, this is the entire HTML. You don't write HTML in React, right? This is only the HTML file we can have in our application. We are not going to write any HTML code again, right? This is the only one. So in here, this is just a normal HTML file. I hope most of you guys familiar with HTML, right? So this is just a HTML file with having title Reactive and body, and this is the most important tag, div tag, that we want to point out in here. I will come back to this div tag because this is important part is index.html file. So it has the ID called root, right? This is simple stuff, right? Nothing crazy in here, nothing new to React, right? This is just plain HTML. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this one. I just close index.html, and these are just like images, right? Basically it will contain some images. If you want, you can probably because I will delete unnecessary stuff before I start implementing, right? So basically public folder contain this index.html and it has a div tag called root. We will come back to this root later, right? Okay, so that's the public folder. So then this is the folder we spend most of the time, right? Source folder, right? I will expand this one. So this source folder actually contain like a lot of stuff, but most of this stuff is not necessary to this project. So basically I will tell you what are those stuff and what it contains, right? So the first thing is the app.css, right? I'm not going to like explain what is CSS, right? Because you guys know, right, what is CSS. So this is just a CSS file which has some styling, right? Pre-implemented styling, I can say. So this is not a problem. I just close this one, and then app.js. So this I will come back to this content. I just explain in the files which is containing in these folders, right? I just explain it. I will like come back to this implementation later, right? So there I will explain each and everything one by one. So this app.js, this is the place actually we load most of our UI components. As I said earlier, in React, all the things are components, right? We are only dealing with components, right? So we can load most of the UI components in app.js. This is like a root file, for our UI component tree, right? So this is just imagine this is a root. This is the master. This is the master file, right? So this is app.test.js. If you want to implement test cases for your application, you can create a file like this app.test.js. So this is basically a test case for this app.js file, right? Okay, we don't need to touch anything in here. Most probably I will delete these unnecessary files because most of you will confuse by first time when you look into these files, right? So and then again we have in CSS file. It's a index.css. Basically it will contain the font family. I'm not going to explain what is a font family, right? So index.css, so nothing crazy in here. So this is the main point that we need to discuss, right? This is every application has a starting point, right? Whether it is a React application, Angular, Vue.js, Node.js, every application has a starting point. So this is the actual file that containing our starting point. This is the actual starting point of our React application. I will come back to this code. I'll explain this once after I finish explaining the folder structure, right? So this is the starting place, right? So this is just a SVG image of a React logo. Before I start implementing, I will run this application. So just bear with me more. So we don't need to have touch in this logo.svg file. So and we have report web vitals. So basically in your application also this is not important. Basically this report web vitals measure your application performance, right? Basically if you want to increase your React application front end performance better, loading components faster, you can have a look at this stuff. report web vitals, but most probably you are not going to touch these files because it basically it's there to measure your application's performance, right? So that's that. So and also we are not going to touch this one, so you don't need to like scared of these things. So setup.tests, basically this is the file. Actually it will set up all the test cases, in like start executing test cases. So we don't need to touch this also, because we are not going to implement test cases for this application. So that's the whole content inside the source folder. So again we have git file. I hope now you guys have a good understanding about what is git. Basically it will track the git to don't track these files, right? That's why we name it as git. So the package log JSON. So basically this is, we are not going to touch anything in here, right? This is basically a metadata which is contain like metadata of our node modules. In here you can see node modules have bunch of folders, and inside these folders there are so many things, right? So basically this package log JSON, it's containing all of these dependencies metadata, right? The version requires like those kind of metadata. We are not going to touch this one. This is like a lengthy file which containing 40,000 lines. We are not going to touch this one, right? Like and this is again package.json. I hope you know what is package.json now, which as Senra mentioned in his session, actually it will contain our metadata of our front-end application. So basically it will contain our application name, student management front end, and version. You can specify the version. This is the initial version. This is a private project, that's why it's true. And these are the dependencies that we want to run a React application. So basically for testing React application, we can have these dependencies, testing library, React testing library. So we are not going to use those things. So Axios, actually we are using Axios to communicate with the backend, right? I will explain this again, right? I will start implementing. Basically, I will go through this stuff faster because we have less short amount of time. So basically, this is JSON file. As Lasal mentioned, these are key value pairs. Basically, this left hand side of this colon, this is a colon. Left hand side of this colon, it will contain what is this dependency, what is the key. So in right hand side of it will contain the version. This is the application basically for if I run npm start, it will have a front end application. If I run if you want to test your application, you can like, can you see my screen? Like Vinonaya, I think my connection is dropped.
Yeah, you can see.
Can see, right? Yeah. Okay. So currently we have 56 like attendees, right? Yeah, which means you are like really interested to learn this stuff, right? So just bear with me a moment. I'll go to the implementation quickly, right? So
Yeah.
basically if I run, yeah, right. So basically if I run npm start, it will tell React scripts to start the application. Actually React scripts is the one it start our React application, right? That's why we install a dependency called React scripts. I mean, we means actually it will automatically install. We are not going to install it manually. It will automatically install. Basically it will tell React script to start our application, right? So these are some configuration. It is like already done for you. You don't need to touch anything. You don't need to touch this stuff, right? It will automatically done for you. That's why I said earlier, it will create entire React application for you. So now last one is Readme. It's just Readme file for GitHub. You can put it in the GitHub. It will automatically fill some stuff like a Facebook link to Facebook page, like create Reactive page. So yarn log is again a same file like package log JSON. So we are not going to touch those stuff in here. So I actually explain each and every file on folder inside this React application. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run this application and start implementing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run npm start. Right now, you know, if I run npm start, what happened actually in the backend, right? Backend means I'm not telling API. Backend means behind the scene, right? If I run npm start, it will tell React scripts to run our React application. So if I run npm start and hit enter, it will start our application. So it will automatically open my browser on port 3000. Basically, but the default port that actually React application start is the is a port 3000. So basically, this is the like landing page of React, right? Like if you configure those things successfully, you can have the simple like web page like this. Like it has a React logo spinning and it has some text. So now we are going to learn how the React works, right? How actually React works. So it will start successfully. Then I can start tell you about how the React work behind the screen. So I'm going to expand the source folder in here. As I said earlier, this is the entry point, index.js. This is the entry point of our application. So it not contain any images, right? Here you can see in our web application, in our React application, it has a React logo image and it has some text. So, but if we going into this index.js file, it not contain any images, it not contain any text, right? It just it has something. I'll tell you later. It has something. Just like keep that as it is. So here you can see it like it has an element called app. So what is this app? So app, as I said earlier, it is the root component of our React tree, right? See, so this is the app.js file. Here you can see this is the app.js file, right? Not the app.css, app.js. So what actually we implement here is we import that app.js file into this index.js, because app.js is the one, app.js is the root element of our application, right? So I go to the app.js, so that is the place actually all the images and text file has content, right? So here you can see this is the image of the React logo, right? Here you can see if I open the browser, this is this image, right? Like this is the image, and here you can see it has a like text called edit source app.js and save to reload. So the exact same text is in here, right? So this is the place actually we implement most of our things. So this is the actual place that we want to implement to render that need to be rendered to the screen. So here you can see learn React. So it's an anchor tag. Here you can see if I click this anchor tag, learn React, it will navigate to React official website. So this is simple stuff, right? Nothing like nothing crazy. I'm not going to like this is simple stuff, right? Nothing crazy in here. So these are just a JavaScript file. So they, how, like, you know, in browser it will render only HTML, right? So how this JavaScript file render to the browser? So because we are not we are not having any HTML in source folder, right? Right? Only HTML file we have is this index.html, right? So actually how this React render these JavaScript UI components to the browser is basically we will implement the things that we want to like render to the screen as a React component, right? Like this. So this is like a basically a root component, React root component. This app is a React component, right? App is a React component. So what we can do is we can implement a React component in a separate folder, in this case app.js file, and after we implement the things that we want to render to the screen, we can export it so that we can access this component whatever we want, right? Whenever we want, right? So so in here what I'm going to what I'm going to do is I will export this one in from this app.js file, and I will import it into this index.js file, which is the which is like the like I said earlier, which is the starting point of our application, right? So what I'm going to do is I will render the stuff that is inside this app component into the browser. So in here, first of all, we need to import the React library, right? Basically, we are creating a React application now, so we need to import that React library first, right? This is how you can import it, right? So and then we have another React component library, like React element called React DOM. So here these things actually automatically install by the time that we run npx create React app. Here you can see it is installed React DOM, right? Here also you can see React DOM is imported as a React DOM. So in this React DOM, it has a method called render. So basically we tell it will take two arguments, which two parameters. So first argument is like basically what we want to render to the screen. The first argument is what are the things that we want to render to the screen, and the second argument is where we want to place this stuff, right? So what are the things that we want to render to the screen? We want to render this app component to the screen. So we specify that app component as first argument, right? And the second argument, here you can see this is a comment comma, and after comma we can specify where we want to render this app.
I think Rusiru got a connection issue, right?
Yeah, Lahiru, I think.
Rusiru, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, Rusiru. We couldn't hear you for the last 40 seconds. Can you explain?
Rusiru, better to turn off your video and continue the session.
Okay. Just tell me whether can you see my screen and hear me clearly.
Yeah,
now it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
So okay. So basically we tell React DOM to render the app.component into an ID called root, right? This is the root. So where is this root ID? It is in index.html, right? Here you can see it has a it has a div tag with having ID called root, right? We actually tell React DOM, right, in here React DOM to render this app component into this root into this div tag called root, right? That's how the React actually works. So let me explain it again if you guys confused. So basically අපි කියනවා දැන් අපේ දැන් මෙහෙමනේ scene එක වෙන්නේ. දැන් අපි index.js එක තමයි අපේ entry point එක. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවනේ entry point එක index.js. දැන් අපි මොකද කියන්නේ? අපි implement කරන්නේ අපි implement කරන component එකක් app කියලා. අපි ඒක ඇතුළේ ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරනවා අපිට පෙන්වන්න ඕනේ දේවල් ටික. හරිද? ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් එක්ස්පෝර්ට් කරනවා. හරිද? මම ඔයගලන්ට පෙන්වන්නම් පොඩ්ඩක් මේක මේ පැහැදිලිව. හරිද? දැන් මේකනේ ඔයගලන්ට පේන කන්ටෙන්ට් එක. දැන් මේ තියෙන්නේ ඔයගලන්ට වෙබ්සයිට් එකේ පේන එක. දැන් මම මොකද කරන්නේ? දැන් මම මේ ඔක්කොම ටික අයින් කරලා දාන්නම් පොඩ්ඩකට. මම මේ ඔක්කොම ටික අයින් කරලා දාලා ඉමේජ් එකයි සේරම මම header tag එකක් දෙන්නම්. Student right management system right system right මම මේක save කරාට පස්සේ ඔයගලන්ට පේනවා මම අර ඔක්කොම අයින් කරන්නේ. දැන් ඔයගලන්ට පේනවාද මම මේ මෙතන දීපු මෙතන දීලා තියෙන header tag එකම තමයි මෙතන display වෙන්නේ. දැන් ඔයගලන්ට පේනවාද මට render කරන්න ඕන අවශ්‍ය දේවල් මම implement කරන app.js component එකේ implement කළා මම මොකද කරන්නේ ඒක export කරනවා. export කරලා මම මේක access කරනවා import කරගන්නවා index.js එකේ which is our starting point of our application. Here මේතනදී අපි මොකද කරන්නේ React DOM කියලා තියෙනවා මේ dependency එකක්. ඒකේ තියෙනවා function එකක්. හරිද? React DOM එකේ හරිද අපි තියෙනවා function එකක් render කියලා. හරිද? render එකේදී arguments දෙකක් තියෙනවා. පළවෙනි argument එක තමයි මොනවද අපිට render කරන්න ඕනේ. අපි specify කරනවා අපිට render කරන්න ඕනේ අපේ පළවෙනි argument එකේ. හරිද? ඒක තමයි අපිට දැන් render කරන්න ඕනේ app කියන component එක. හරිද? එතකොට ඒකේ තමයි අපේ මෙන්න මේ header tag එක තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? එතකොට දෙවෙනි ආගියුමන්ට් එක විදිහට අපි ස්පෙસિෆයි කරනවා අපිට කොහෙද මේක රෙන්ඩර් කරන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට අපිට මේක රෙන්ඩර් කරන්න ඕනේ ID එක root වෙන මොකක් හරි තැනක. දැන් කොහෙද ID එක root වෙන්නේ? ID එක root කියලා තියෙන්නේ මෙන්න මෙතන index.html එකේ. හරිද? index.html එකේ div tag එකක් තියෙනවා ID එක root වෙන. එතකොට අපි කියනවා React DOM එකට මෙන්න මේ app.js component එක app කියන component එක රෙන්ඩර් කරන්න මෙන්න මේ div tag එක ඇතුලේ. හරිද? මම ඔයගලන්ට පෙන්නන්නම් පොඩ්ඩක් මේක හරියට මේ inspect mode එකට ගිහිල්ලා මම මේ inspect mode ගිහිල්ලා මම මේක පොඩ්ඩක් expand කරගන්න. හරි. මේ තියෙන ඔන්න දැන් අපේ content එනවනේ මම body එක expand කරගන්නවා. body එකේ ඔයගලන්ට පේනවද මෙතන ID එකක් div tag එකක් තියෙනවා ID එක root එක. හරිද? Right? You can see there is a div tag called root, right? This is the exact same div tag which is in our index.html, right? This is the exact same thing. So but here you can see in our index.html file there is no anything inside this div tag, right? But when it rendered to the screen, here you can see if we expand this div tag, there is another div tag called app. So where is this app, like a div tag which having class app? So where is this app class, right? If I go to the VS Code and go to the app.js, here you can see there is a class called app div tag which having class called app. Here you can see that this is that element. Here if I expand this one, here you can see this is the actual header tag that I have implemented in here, right? Student management system. Here you can see this is the exact same thing, right? මෙහෙම තමයි ඔන්න මොකක් හරි දෙයක් රෙන්ඩර් වෙන්නේ අපේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එකට. දැන් ඔයගලන්ට පේනවනේ අපි මුකුත් HTML files implement කරන්න ගියේ නැහැ. අපි මුකුත් කිසිම HTML file එකක් implement කරන්න ගියේ නැහැ. අපේ public folder එකේ තියෙන HTML file එක මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒ HTML file එකට අපි මේ රෙන්ඩර් කරනවා අපිට පෙන්වන්න ඕනේ content එක. හරිද? Right? So this is how the React render elements like UI components to the screen, right? Okay, I hope you guys like have some under in the first at the first time you will not get all these things, right? But when you start implementing React application, you will understand most of this stuff. So I hope now you guys have understand about what is React, how to think in React, and how to create a React application and how the React works behind the scene, right? So yeah, so now we can start implementing our application for student management system. So yeah, okay, I will close all these things, and then inside the source folder, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another folder called components, right? components, right? As I said earlier, in React, all the things are considered as components, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a UI to create a I'm going to implement a UI to create a students, right? Right. What I'm going to do is I add a new file inside this components folder. Name like you can give a whatever file name that you want. I just give create student, right? Dot student.js, right? Not HTML, right? Not HTML, JS, right? JavaScript. We are going to write JavaScripts, right? So as the first thing that I have mentioned earlier, yeah, I will quickly go through the coding because there is a lot to cover, right? So most probably I will able to finish all this stuff in 10. I will try to like finish all this stuff is at 10, right? So like give me some time, right? So in here, as I said earlier, before we start implement any React component, we need to import the React library first, right? Otherwise, we are not able to implement React component. So how we can import React library? Simply just like type import React from React, right? This is how we implement. This is how we import React library to our UI component, right? So in here, we are not going to implement navigation bar, footer, and body. We are not going to implement those stuff inside this create student file, right? Component. We are just implementing the UI that need to have to create a student in our application. We are not going to implement UI like navigation bar inside this component. We are not going to implement footer in this component. Like I said earlier, we are just implementing to a form to create a to create a student in our application. So when you're going to implement a React component, there are actually two ways to implement, right? So one way is actually you can have class-based components, right? And another one is functional-based components. So don't be confused these words. These are really simple. So in this session, I will implement this application by using both of them. So you at the end you will have understand how to implement like React component using class-based component as well as the functional-based components. So what I'm going to do is first in this create student UI component, I will create using class-based component. When I start implementing get all display all using like display all user component, right? I will implement that one using function-based component. So you will have like better understand like you will have understanding about both of these approaches, right? So yeah, first how to create a class-based component. That's the first question that we face when we start implementing class-based component. So it's really simple. So just put a class keyword. This is a keyword. Class and give the class name. This is just this is nothing new to JavaScript. Like this is just like a Java, right? So I just give a class name called create student, right? Create student, and we need to inherit this class from another class called components. So we need to extend this one from a class called component. So where is this component class, right? It is inside the React library, right? So if we put like this React and then dot, we can have a component class, right? This is another class inside the React library. We are not going to implement component. It is actually implemented for you, right? You are not going to touch anything inside this component class. So what I'm going to do is I create a class like this. So this is how we can create a React component, class-based component. So if you like, if this one React.component, if it is confused you, you can also do like this, like put a comma after React and then put a curly brackets, and here you can import the component class like this, right? This is like the structuring, right? So instead of React.component, you can just simply have component. So this is much more readable, right? Here we can say we extending our create student class from a superclass called component. See, so these are not new to React, right? You are familiar with inheritance, right? Because you create a OP project as well, right? So in here, what actually a class have, right? Class have a constructor. So you know how to create a constructor in Java. So but in here most probably you will in Java you can create a constructor like this, like public create student and have a constructor like this. But in JavaScript you cannot do this, right? We are not declaring constructors like this. This is JavaScript, right? If you want to declare a constructor, right, it's a for creating a constructor they have a separate keyword called constructor, right? Constructor. And inside this constructor we will pass our properties, class properties. I hope you know what is properties like, right? So we name it as props and put a curly brackets in here. So this is how we can define a constructor in JavaScript. So in here we refer and we here in here we have a like a keyword called super. I hope you familiar with keyword super because Java is already have a super like a keyword. Basically it will refer to the like parent class, because we are extending this create student class from a parent class called component. So basically we are referring to this component parent class, right? We pass the props in here. So this is how you can implement a class-based component, right? So inside this class-based component, right, you don't need to change like this stuff when you're going to implement another class-based component. This is same for every class-based component, right? So this is this code that I have wrote in line 4, 5, 6. This is like entirely you can just copy paste if you create another class-based component, and inside that class-based component just paste it, because this is not like specific for this one only, right? You can have several class-based component and can have the same constructor, right? So then inside the class-based component we have a like inbuilt method called render, right? Inbuilt method. This is a inbuilt class method for this class-based component. So you may wondering where is this render method comes from, because we are extending from component class now. Actually this render method is coming from component class. So that's why we can have a method called render. So inside this render we will return something outside of this return something from this function, right? So what we actually return, so we actually return the things that we want to render to the screen, right? So in this case I just put a div tag in here. I hope you guys familiar with what is a div tag. So basically we can implement what are things that we want to render to the screen inside this div tag, right? So yeah, and then finally before I start implementing anything, I just simply export this one, export default create student, so that I can access this component access this component by importing this one into a separate file, right? Okay, so for demo purpose I just put a header tag saying that create student, right? I just save this one. So and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to app.js, which is our root component, right? So what I'm going to do is I just import that exported create student component into this root component, right? What is our root component? It is app.js, right? I just import, right, create student, right, if you use extensions for React.js, it will automatically it will automatically compute your import paths, right? It will the React in here you can see this is student create student is a class and it is inside this components folder file name called create student, right? What I can do is I can just render everything that I have wrote in here to the screen, right? How can I render? Because here you can see I inside this render function, right? This is the place that actually all the content implemented here that I want to render to the screen. So how I can access these things inside this one, right? It actually really simple. You are not going to call you are not going to do this, right? Create student and then dot render, right? You are not going to do this, right? You don't need to do this because just simply add this just simply do like this. I will explain like create student like this, right? Just call this class as a React element, right? This is like a HTML element, right? But it different because it contain a class, right? Here you can see this is how we actually load components into React into this app.js component. So what I'm going to do is I'll open the browser. Here I just close this one. Here you can see this is only containing student management system, and here in our create student one we have a separate title called create student. So what I'm going to do is I will import this one and call this create student class as a React element, JSX element. I will come back to what is JSX later. So what I'm going to do is I just save this one. So here you can see after I save this one, it will automatically render create student to the screen. So here you can see I'm not implementing another header tag to display create student in here. It is inside the create student file, right? So this is how the React works. So we can have separate components for separate UI elements, and we can assemble those things into one view, right? If you have another component to like something like navigation bar, you can import it in here. It will automatically load the stuff that is inside this render function and render to the screen, right? So simple as that. So here you can see we actually create student header. So what I'm going to do is I just quickly implement the form to get necessary user inputs for create a student GitHub application. So what I'm going to do is I just create a separate couple of input tags. So and also before I start implement that one, I just quickly tell you guys these are not these div tag header tags. These are not HTML tags, right? These are not HTML tag. These are JSX elements. So basically JSX stands for JavaScript XML, right? So these are JSX element, right? These are not HTML, but
excuse me, Rusiru.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. So kindly can you make that extension as JSX then
yeah.
it
Okay.
for them.
Okay, I'll rename. Here you can see the file extension that I have used in here is JSX. So I just you can see and if you create a JSX in here, so here you can see there is an error because I just change the extension to JS to JSX, right? So in JSX actually you can have in here what I'm going to do is yeah, just components, right? Student, and then in here I think I can actually I can explain this better if I create I create a function components.
I didn't realize that there is a that confliction. So just put
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, because this is a class component. I'll
Yeah.
explain this JX element if I start working on functional components, right? Okay, so now our application back and running. So yeah, so what I in here, these are JSX element, which is stand for JavaScript XML. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 input fields to get username, SLIIT ID, and what is the another field in our model. We need to have a age, right? So to get those 3 fields, I'm going to quickly implement 3 input fields like enter your student name, right? Here I just put input. This is same as the HTML. You are writing HTML code, right? I'm not going to explain in here. This type is text, right? And here placeholder, I can have a placeholder called enter. Please enter student ID, right? Okay, and then I'll put a break tag in here. So and then another input field called enter SLIIT ID, enter SLIIT ID, and then I just put another input tag, and type is having text, right? And then placeholder which contain please enter ID, right? Same that. And you have to keep in that mind, right? Every JSX element must close, right? You can have in HTML like you can have like this one. It will throw some errors, right? You have to close the JSX element. Here you can see corresponding JSX closing tag for input, right? We need to have close each and every JSX element. So and lastly enter student age, right? So and then here I'll just put, I will quickly go through this stuff because in creating form is like really basic stuff, right? Number and then placeholder, and here it please enter student age, right? So this is simply our form, and also I will create a button to save those student details, right? I create a simple button called submit student data, right? Submit to the student data, and I just hit save, Control S, and I will navigate to the browser. Here you can see the exact same UI that I have implemented in this create student React component. It will render to the screen, right? Without any issue, right? We can give student name, student SLIIT ID, and age, and finally we can submit those information to our database. So this is how we can implement React UI. So I'm not going to actually style this one because it will contain so much time. So again, I'm going to explain one of the most important key thing when you're going to learn React JS, right? So which is the concept called state, right? So state, which means in React application, when user, actually the end user will most probably fill those field, right? So before you, as you guys know, then අපි මේක දැන් fill කරනකොටම මේ data ටික database එකට වදින්නේ නැහැ, database එකට save වෙන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් මම මෙහෙම කාගේ හරි නමක් ගහගෙන යනකොට නිමල් කියලා මම මේක ගහව ගමන් ටස් ගාලා ගිහිල්ලා database එකේ මේක save වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරිද? දැන් මම මේ ID එකටත් එහෙම ID එක ගහලා මම මේ ටික ගහලා මේ submit button එක click කරොත් විතරයි මේක save වෙන්න ඕනේ. හරිද? එතකොට මෙන්න මේ දේවල් ටික මම මේ use input field එකේ ගහන දේවල් ටික save කරගන්න මොකක් හරි දෙයක් තියාගන්න ඕනේ. හරිද? අන්න ඔය දේ කරගන්න React වල තියෙන concept එකක්, it's called state, right? Basically state is like it contain the it's basically state is a object, JavaScript object which contain the stuff that will change that will change at the lifetime of the UI component, right? So like basically එකනේ වචනේ බර එකනේ බර වැඩි නම් basically React state එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ ඒක නිකන් JavaScript object එකක්. ඒක තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා මේ variables. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ variable සමහරට මේ lifetime ඒ කියන්නේ මේ application එකේ ඒ කියන්නේ application එක run වෙන පුරාවට සමහරට change වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ static content නෙමෙයි dynamic content එක. වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් දේවල්. අන්න ඒ වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් දේවල් ටික contain කරගෙන තමයි React වල තියෙන concept එක state කියලා. state එකේ මොකද කරන්නේ? අන්න ඒ වෙනස් වෙන දේවල් අපිට පුළුවන් store කරලා తాවකාලිකව තියාගෙන ඉන්න. ඕක තමයි basically වෙන්නේ. හරිද? හරි. So how we can define a state in React component, right? It's just simple, like inside your constructor, just put a enter after the super like keyword, and this is how you can define a construct like state inside the class-based component. So the approach that is used in the functional-based component is a little bit different, but I will explain it again when I start implementing the function-based component. So what I'm going to do is I just implement a state like this. In class-based component, you can implement state like this one. This dot state, right, and equal open and close curly brackets. So this is how we this is how we actually define a object in JavaScript, right? Open and close curly brackets. So this is our state, right? This is the place that actually contain all the changeable stuff, right? Which means the things that user will enter inside these input fields, right? So what are the things that user will enter into these input fields? So name, SLIIT ID, and age. So what I'm going to do is I just declare 3 state variables called name, which is a string. I can put a single quotes in here or double quotes, and SLIIT ID, and just put double quotes in here, and age, right? It's a number. It's a number. Even though it's a number, I can put a empty single quotes, right? Because in Java, it's not. We can have in JavaScript there is no any like what you call type, right? So in that's why we can assign we can create a variable which contains a number as a string, right? So this is how we can define a state inside the class. Yeah.
Small interruption. A lot of students ask that whether we are doing CI/CD pipeline or not. So at the end of this, after implementing the front end, he will do the CI/CD pipeline.
Yeah. So
okay. That's the announcement.
Okay. So we will quickly go through this stuff because it's 10 p.m. right? So yeah, this is how we can define a state inside this inside the class-based component. So yeah, we create a state, right? We create a state, so which having name, SLIIT ID, age. But how we can save the things that user will enter into this input field into these 3 fields? How we can connect this state into this input field, right? Basically this is our problem. So what I'm going to do is I just put an enter in here because for the readability purpose, because otherwise it won't clear to you guys. I just do like this, type placeholder and close. If you have like if you're familiar with Prettier, it will automatically
Rusiru, can you zoom the code? I mean, zooming.
Yeah, I can zoom. My like screen is not enough to I maximally zoom this one, because if I zoom further, like I haven't enough space to code. Yeah, I zoom then. Okay. No problem. Okay. Yeah, I'll zoom it a little bit again. So I'll hide this one. Yeah. So this that you guys can see code properly?
Yeah, I
So
think
here,
that's
yeah. So here I'm going to like do this one in here. Yeah, okay. We actually place our code like this. So if you want to like I hope you guys familiar with the attribute input attribute called value, right? This is same as like HTML. If I put value called nimal, if I save this one, when I go back to the browser, this input field is containing a value called nimal. So this we can specify a value right in here, but in real world application we are not hard coding username into here. No, we are just implement a logic that user will enter his name, right? So in here the same concept is applied. Instead we hard code this value. Instead we hard code this value into this value property. We can do like this one, right? Just put a curly brackets in here, because you can actually do that because these are not HTML, these are JSX, which means you can write JavaScript inside these elements, right? Okay, so how we can access? Ultimately we want to save username that is entered into this input field to this variable called state variable called name, but it is inside the state. So how we can access this name, right? It is really simple. You just want to put like this, right? This dot state, we are referring to this state one, right? Inside this state object there is a property called name, right? So what I'm going to do is just put a dot. With having dot operator you can access these three properties, right? So what is the property that I want to access? Name, right? I just put a name. So simply as that, right? So now I'm going to save this one. It will not change anything in here, but instead of giving directly value to this one, what if I put value to this one like Nimal Pereira, right? I just save this one, and then here you can see Nimal Pereira is rendered to the screen because we are accessing this value from the state. So state is the place actually containing this information, right? Okay, so I hope you guys understand how we can access this how we can access this state variable called name, right? So this is how we can access that one. Okay, I will do the same thing to actually SLIIT ID. So I just put value and then put a curly bracket like this dot state, right? State dot SLIIT ID, and I do the same thing for age, like value equal this dot state dot, right? State dot what is called age, right? So this is how we can access this the stuff that is inside our state, right? So then I'll save this one. Here you can see we are successfully connect with our input fields to our state, right? So but if I try to type something in here, I'm not able to type. Here you can see I'm typing, but it's not typed, right? Here you can see I'm trying to type, but it's not displaying anything, right? So why is that? So if we connect our value, like our React state into this input field, most probably as I said earlier, most probably these three values will be changed in the future. That's why I said earlier we will put all like the state variables that we hope it will change its value in the future into this state, right? ඒ කියන්නේ basically අපි කියනවා අපි මේ state එක ඇතුළට දාන්නේ මොනවද? අපි මේ state එක value state value මේ object එක ඇතුළට දාන්නේ basically ඉස්සරහා අනාගතයේදී වෙනස් වෙයි කියලා හිතන දේවල්. හරිද? නැත්නම් අපිට පුළුවන් මේක කෙලින්ම hard code කරන්න මේ code එකට. මේක වෙනස් වෙන නිසා තමයි අපි මේ විදිහට state tag ඇතුළට දාන්නේ. එතකොට මේ විදිහට state tag ඇතුළට දැම්මහම ඒක change වෙනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ බොහෝ දුරට change වෙනවා. එතකොට මේක change වෙනකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්න ඕනේ කියන logic එක දෙන්නේ නැති තා අපිට මොකුත් type කරන්න බෑ. අපේ screen එකේ, right? If we want to implement a method just if we want implement a method to change these value properties, we cannot type anything in here, right? These are not I'm trying to type it, but it's not type anything. So how we can like change these values, right? Ultimately we want to type something in those input fields. So to do that, actually it's a another separate attribute called JSX attribute called onChange, right? OnChange. So this is the place that we specify a method that will that will get the things that user will enter to this input field and assign to this name variable, name state, right? So inside this these are right මේ ටික පොඩ්ඩක් හොඳටම ස්ට්‍රේන්ජ් වෙයි මේ කවුරුත් මීට කලින් කරලා නැත්නම් මේක, but like පුළුවන් තරම් බලන්න අයිඩියා එක ගන්න. නමුත් ඕගොල්ලෝ ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරනකොට ඕගොල්ලන්ටම අයිඩියා එකක් එයි පස්සේදී කොහොමද මේව කනෙක්ට් වෙන්නේ කියලා. මොකද ඇත්තටම React වගේ ලොකු ලයිබ්‍රරි එකක් එක දවසින් පැය 4කින් ඉගෙන ගන්න බෑ. නමුත් මම මේ basically speed up කරලා කියලා දෙන්නේ මේ ටික ඕගොල්ලන්ට basic idea එකක් ගන්න. Right? So because we need to complete the CI/CD pipeline as well. Ultimately at the end we need to host this application, right? So in here what I'm going to do is I create a method called set like student name. So basically this is just a user defined method like to save username into this state property called name, right? We need to pass the event, right? I will come back to this event thing later, right? This is the method. So what we are going to do is we are going to like inside this onChange attribute, we are referring to this method called set student name. So how we can access the set student name? It's simple, like this dot set student name. This is how we can access this set student name, right? Set student name inside our onChange attribute, right? So here you can see this is a JSX attribute called onChange, right? Basically this will contain an event, like it will wait until some event happen to this input field, right? So what is the event that will happen to this input field? Basically user will type something on this input field, right? So that is the event. So this onChange onChange attribute will wait until that event is occurred. After that event is occurred, it will call this set student name behind the scene, right? So that's why we pass event in here, right? So I will access this event later, right? So yeah, then what we're going to do is this onChange will call this like set student name. So how we can get all the things that user will type into this input field, right? So it's really simple. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to console.log, right? e.target.value. So basically this is an e means event, right? E means event. So inside event there is another property called target. Inside this target there is another property called value. This is the actual property that has all the things that user insert into this type into this input field. So what I'm going to do is I just save this one, and then I'll open the browser and go to the inspect mode, right? Go to the inspect mode and open the console, right? So here you can see there are so many errors. We will figure that out later. So what I'm going to do it, I'll start typing on this student name, right? So I'm going to just type Niman, right? Here you can see okay, I think I messed up something. Yeah, here no, I'm not messed up something. So here you can see after I start typing, here you can see it's not display anything in this input field. I just put type Niman. Here you can see even though I type nimal as a single word, it actually 5 events, right? Each and every single keyboard click is a one event, right? That's why it will print like this, not nimal like this, right? Nimal, it's not nimal like this. That's why it print like this, line by line, right? So that is the event is happen inside this on change attribute, right? Inside this input field. So now we know how to access the event values that user enter to the input field. So now we need to assign that, like we need to save that value to a property called name, right? So our ultimate goal is to save those information to this property called name, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just save this e.target.value, which contains all the information, which contain all the things, event details related to this name property, right? So how we can save this one? So if you try to save like this, name equal e.target.value, like it won't work, right? You cannot directly assign values into these state properties. These are some kind of special properties, not like Java, right? These are special properties, so this will it will have special methods to assign those values, right? So what is this special method? I just remove this one in here. We cannot do this to do this, right? Name equal e.target.value. We can't do that, right? The special method is called this.setState. In class-based component, this is the method that you can use save something into your state properties. In this case, I'm going to save the username that user type in this input field into this property called name. So inside this is the function, and put a curly brackets in here because the state is object. Like I said earlier, state is object. Inside this object there is a property called name. So what we can do is we can just simply like put like this name colon, because we cannot do like this name equal, we cannot do like this because object it only contain key value pairs, right? Okay, colon, right? Now we can specify e.target.value, right? This will work. This is the important part. This is how we assign values, use input values into the state variable. So what I'm going to do is I just remove this console log. I'm just going to save this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh the page again. So here, if I try to type now, here you can see there are some mistakes. Yeah. Okay, so again we have another exception. So like I said earlier, you will face these issues ton of times when you start implementing your React application. And if you found these issues, don't send those pictures to some of your friends saying that hey dude, I try to solve this error. I couldn't figure it out. Can you solve this for me? ඒ කියන්නේ basically කියන්න එපා එහෙම. කියන්නේ ඕගොල්ලන්ට මේක දැන් මෙතන පේනවනේ. මම මේ issue එකට මම හේතුව කියන්නම්. ඕගොල්ලෝ මෙන්න මේක නිකන් just Google කරොත් හරිද? ඕගොල්ලෝ මේ එකම ගිහිල්ලා ගහන්න Google එකේ. එතකොට පළවෙනියටමනේ stack overflow. හරිද? මේකත් එක්ක ඕගොල්ලෝ ගොඩක් familiar වෙයි මේ semester එකෙන් පස්සේ. හරිද? stack overflow බලන්න ඔයාලට මේ ආපු issue එකම මේ ලෝකේ තව කෙනෙක්ට කොයි වෙලෙක හරි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ පොඩ්ඩක් මේවට ගියොත් ඕගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා ඇති මෙතන කියලා තියෙනවා this is due to මොකක් හරි හේතුවක් කියලා තියෙනවා. මම කියන්නම් හේතුව ඕගොල්ලන්ට ලේසි වෙන්න. හරිද? මොකද්ද දන්නවද මේක වෙන්න හේතුව? හරිද? මේක වෙන්නේ හේතුව තමයි set student name කියලා කියන්නේ user defined function එක. හරි? This is a user defined function, right? So this React component called create student doesn't know anything about set student name, right? Because this is a user defined function. But this is a render method. This is an inbuilt function. Here you can see this is a user defined function. So we need to bind this function in order to use this, in order to call this function, right? Because otherwise this class component doesn't know anything about this set username, right? So how we can bind this function, right? ඒ කියන්නේ basically ඕගොල්ලෝ මොනවා හරි function එකක් use කරනවා නම් ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ state එක කියන්නේ user defined function එකක් use කරනවා නම් like set student name ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ state එකේ variable එක වෙනස් කරන්න, property එක වෙනස් කරන්න ඕගොල්ලන්ට අනිවාර්යෙන් මේ function එක bind කරන්න වෙනවා අපේ class එකට. So how we can bind this one? It's really simple. You just want to specify the function. How do we specify the function name? This dot set student name is equal to this dot set student name, not state student name dot. There is a function called bind where we want to bind this one to this class, right? This class. So this is how we can bind user defined function that will change our state variables, right? This is how we can bind user defined functions, right? I'm going to save this one. So and then again go back to the browser. So what I'm going, these errors, we will solve these errors at the end, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type student name, just the one. Here you can see there is no error. Here, no errors occurred. We can type anything, right? Minimal per error, right? Okay, but if I try to type student ID here, it's not work, right? Because we are not implementing that onChange function, onChange attribute to this field, right? This will not work, right? Here you can see if I try to type something in here, it's not work, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll quickly apply the same logic into these two input fields, right? Just put onChange. I'm not going to explain it again and again, because I hope now you guys can have some kind of idea about this function. So this function is only for saving student name. So we need to have a separate function to save student SLIIT ID, right? Just put save set SLIIT ID. Save SLIIT ID. It is also we need to pass the event like this one. And then what we're going to do is we use that special function which is called set state, right, in here. And then where we want to save this SLIIT ID value into this SLIIT ID property, like SLIIT ID property. So how we can access this value? I hope now you know how we can access e.target.value, right? Because we pass the event, right? Inside this event, like I said earlier, there is an attribute called target. Inside this target, there is another one called value. This is the actual attribute that will contain all the user input data, data, right? Okay. So in here, we need to specify. We need to refer this one, this dot set SLIIT ID, and keep this in your mind. Don't call function. Don't call this set SLIIT ID, right? Because we are only give a reference to this function, right? Don't call this one, right? So again, this is also user defined function. We need to bind this one in order to use this, right? Okay, how we can bind this one? It's simple, really simple. Set SLIIT ID equal this dot set SLIIT ID dot bind, and then to this one, right? So I'll do the same thing for age. I create another user defined function set age and pass the event to this one, and this one set state in here. So what is the attribute state property? Age, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to age and e, because we pass the event e dot target dot value, right? So this is how we can save the age, assign age to our state property. So in here we can have another onChange attribute. Here we can refer to that set age function. So, and also we need to bind this age function because this is user defined function, which will like change the state of the our React component. So what I'm going to do is I just quickly set age in this set age dot bind and to this one. Okay, this. Okay, So this is I just save this one, save these changes, and I'm going to just refresh this one. Here you can see those like errors appear away. So what now I can type anything like Nimal, SLIIT ID, IT20, some like I off my number. You can see I can put whatever you want and then student age, right? And finally submit those data. So here you can see this is the final step of our submit data process. We need to at the end we need to save these input data into our database, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another method called saying that save student data, right? Student data. This is also contain event. So in here, this is the place that we want to save all the user data. So if I just and then I want to execute this method, save student data method, only if I click on this button, right? Only if I click on this button, then only I want to execute this function, right? So how we can do this? Actually, in button there is another JSX attribute called onClick. It's also an event, right? onClick, and we can give a reference to this save student data function. So how we can give the reference? This dot save student data. So the simple as that, right? So what I'm going to do is I just save this one, and then I'm going to go into here. I just put Nimal, right? And then SLIIT ID, I just put ID blah blah blah, and age is, let's say, 21, and I click on this submit student data, right? Here you can see if I click this one, it's nothing happened, right? So because we don't we still connect this button with our backend API. So if I save anything, I just put a console log in here to just check whether all the data is saved to our state variables, state properties, right? I just put a console log saying that student data. So after we click that save student data button, it will display all the data that we input into this inserted into the input fields, right? So just simply call this dot state. So this is the place actually contain all the inputted data, right? Inserted data. So what I'm going to do is I just again save this one and just put Nimal and then ID 40 and 20 and I just submit data. Here you can see again we have a error. So what I'm going to do is this is also user defined function, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to bind this function as well. So this save student equal this dot save student dot bind to this class, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this one and then again just refresh the page and just I put minimal and ID something here and H20 and then I start click on this one. Here you can see then we can see our inserted data which assign into our state properties, age, name, SLIIT ID. Here you can see it will successfully inserted into that one state properties. So now the only thing that left is we need to pass those information to backend API to eventually save inside our database, right? So how we can actually save these things, right? So actually when Sendra implementing the API, here you can see he actually specify the route, right? If we call this one, here you can see what is the port number. Actually our backend server start is what is the port number? 5000, right? 5000. So if we call this one in our front end, this is the important part. This is how you can connect your front end with the backend API, right? If we call this one localhost 5000, /API/student/add, and then provide those information that we want to save in our database. It will automatically execute this add student function in our backend API, and eventually save those information that we pass from the front end to our database, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this backend API, right? So how we can connect our backend API? So to do that, actually you need to have install another dependency called Axios, right? So it is quite easy. Just this is the command that you want to install Axios into your application. Just give npm install or npm I, and then Axios, right? Then it will automatically install all the necessary files for implement Axios endpoint codes, right? So this is the exact same command that you want to execute. Right, I already execute that one because it will took some time to install, so I already done that. So what I can do is I can actually import that Axios dependency into our create student class component, right? I just put import Axios from Axios, right? Because I already installed that one, right? So how we can how we can actually connect this this information to backend, right? Using this package called Axios. So what I'm going to do is in Axios, all right? In Axios, you can actually provide what is the HTTP action that you want to like execute in order to do something in your backend, right? So in save student data, here you can see in our backend route, it's a post request, right? In this Axios, if you use .n, here you can see these are the HTTP actions that we can use, right? Get and post, create. So in this case, I'm using post, right? In this post, if I put post and this is a function, inside this function there are 3 parameters, right? First one is the URL. So this is the URL that you want to specify, right? Specify, which is our backend API, right? Backend API. So what is our backend API? It is http://localhost 5000/API/student/add. So this is the exact same URL that we want to access, right? Most probably if we host this application, these things localhost, these things it will most probably change. So for now I just use these things as it is. So this is how we can specify the URL. හරි, මෙහෙම තමයි අපි කනෙක්ට් කරගන්න අපේ backend application එක sorry front end application එක අපේ backend API එකත් එක්ක. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ දෙවෙනි argument එක තමයි the data that we want to save in our database. So what are the data that we want to save? The data that we want to save is name, SLIIT ID, and age. So here you can see, if I go inside to this add student function, you can see these are the things that we want to save: name, SLIIT ID, age. So here you can see SLIIT ID, it has capital D, but in my front end I have simple D. If I pass this this dot state directly, it will throw some errors, right? It will not save our data. So we need to modify our data that having this format, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another constant object called student, right? Student equal, this is how you can create as object, and this just put name. So where is this name, where is the value of the name is stored in? It is stored in where property call, state property call name. So now you know how to access the name state property. It's simple, like just this dot state dot name, right? It's simple as that, right? And again we need to specify the SLIIT ID. This is how we need to specify SLIIT ID in here. So what I'm going to do is I just SLIIT ID in here, and then I just access this dot state dot SLIIT ID. Here you can see in here in our front end it actually contains simple D. This is a capital D. If you want actually you can have a capital D. So that's you can actually like come up with your own ideas. So this is how we can so most safety ways like this. Before you directly send all the information, just like have a like proper like way to save those information, right? So the last one is the age. So what I'm going to do is this is the age that we want to save. So I just put age, and where is this age value comes from? This dot state dot age, right? So yeah, and then this is the data that we want to say pass into the backend and eventually saved in our databases. So as the second argument, second parameter, we can pass the object called student, right? We don't a student like this. So as third arguments, if you want, most probably you will use third argument. Like if you are going to use JWT tokens like header things, so you most probably you will use that like a third argument. So which is called configurations. So if you want to specify separate configurations for your this endpoint call, you can pass this as in here, like as the third argument. So in here, I'm not going to do specify third argument. So I just stick with the two arguments instead. So and then this is how we can save student in our database, right? It's really simple. So and here after saving this student into our database, this axios.post method actually return a promise. So I hope you familiar with the term called promise. Basically, actually, Senora is also keep like tell what is a promise in his session. Actually, I'll simply give you what is a promise is. Actually, promise is basically we are waiting for something, right? We are waiting for something until it return some response, right? So basically that's the whole purpose of promise. Actually, that's the big picture, but you need to read more about promise in order to fully understand them, right? So what I'm going to do is how we can like handle the promise using then catch block. So in here then, right, and then we have an arrow function like this. If our data, if student data successfully stored to the database, we can have an alert saying that student data successfully inserted, right? Inserted, right? Something like that. You can come up with your own design. I'm just having simple JavaScript alert, right? I'm not going to style these things, right? And then if something bad happened, if something happened in backend, basically if it is not, it will throw. If it is throw some errors, we can get those errors into a front end, and we can have another arrow function. If it is not successfully inserted to the database, we can have the error as a alert, right? Message error message, right? So yeah, this is how we end up with implementing our entire create student thing, right? So this is now entirely connected with our backend. So now it's ready to save user information. So I'm going to save this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to browser and just refresh this thing. And one another thing, right? One another thing. Before in here, I just remove this thing, right? I just remove one, and here, if I save, like if I say click this button, it will execute this method. No, it will execute this save student data function. So if we don't specify a function called prevent default prevent, right? Prevent default, which is preventing the default behavior of the browser. But is the default behavior of the browser? If I click the button, it will automatically refresh the page. Like before we sending those information to our backend, it will automatically refresh our web page, and it will automatically reset our state data, because as I said earlier, this state is a temporary storage. This is not going to store your data forever, right? If something happened to browser, which means refresh or close and reopen the browser, these things are not containing the previous information. These are only for temporary storage purpose, right? So that's why we need to specify a method called, it is also inside the event called prevent default function, which is we tell browser prevent the default behavior, which means if we click on this button, don't refresh the page, right? That's the whole thing that we tell. So what I'm going to do is I now finish the implementation of this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the backend as well. So because otherwise we cannot save the data now, because we need to start the backend application as well, backend server. So I'm going to get another console in here. I'm going to navigate to ITP application, folder called ITP application, which contain all of our data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to node server.js, right? So in here it is service up and running. MongoDB is successfully connected. So now we can check if our implementation is correct. So if all things went well, we will see a alert called student information inserted successfully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a name called Nimal ID 2020, something like that. Age is 21. So what I'm going to do is I click submit student data. Here you can see our implementation is successful, right? Because it's saying that student data successfully inserted. So I just put OK. Here you can see our actually now I'm going to move to the display student data, right?
Rusiru?
Yeah.
Now time is like 10:30 p.m. So can we move to the CI/CD pipeline instead of implementing get all student?
Yeah. Okay.
And also a small reminder, if you could just fill the feedback form, it's highly appreciated.
Yeah, actually there are actually 240 40
150.
yeah, actually it's thank you all you guys, right? Yeah, even though it's like 10:30.
1.5 hours.
Yeah, actually thank you for okay, let's move on to the
and
CIC.
please fill the response feedback form.
Yeah, so then එහෙනම් අපි කෙලින්ම අපි deploy කරන්න යන්නේ නේද මේක කෙලින්ම?
අපි මේ deployment එකට.
Because in our current application we are almost having that insert part. Only thing we have missed up to now is like retrieving part. So simply get request. So
yeah,
hopefully our speakers will
if you
to GitHub as well. So
yeah, if you can give me like 10 or 15 minutes, I can implement that part as well, Dinonaya.
Yeah, but Manli, we'll go first with the CI/CD pipeline. This
okay.
It's a part of session now. Then after that, if you have enough time, then we'll go with that.
Okay. So yeah. So now we have successfully like a successful implementation of our create function in our front end. So now we going to CI/CD pipeline, right? So what I'm going to do is, right, I'm going to first host our backend application and then host our front-end application using GitHub Actions, right? So in here, what I'm going to do is I need to change something inside this ITP application. So what I'm going to do is I just stop these things in here. I just stop the backend as well, so front-end as well. So yeah, okay. So in here in server.js, we are we already implement environmental port, so we don't need to change anything in here. So we only thing that we need to change is the package.json one, right? So we need to specify some scripts when we deploy this one into Heroku, right? So yeah, and also we need to have some kind of like a message to check whether if our application successfully hosted, right? I just implement a simple get request like app.get and then like a root URL and then specify a request request response in here and then create arrow function, and I just return dot send a simple body like bold tag, let's say ITP, like I just mentioned ITP backend API ITP backend API, just like I just put a bold tag in here, right? So this is only used for verify our backend is hosted successfully, because if we call the root URL, it will display this message ITP backend API. So what I'm going to do is I just save this one, and the little thing that I need to change this in here also, which is I'll just remove this test one and I just put start, and in here I just use node server.js. So those are the changes that we want to do in our backend application. So what I'm going to do is I will commit those changes. So what I'm going to do is I just navigate to that our backend API, crawl, just clear cd ITP, right? ITP application, right? Okay. Then what I'm going to, sorry, what is this one? Yeah. Okay. Just test what is the git status. Okay, these are the modified changes. Here you can see package.json and server.js1. What I'm going to do is I just put git add all the necessary changes to my local repository, and I commit git commit having like add the root endpoint, and then enter, and then what I'm going to do is I will push those changes into a main branch, right? Git push origin main, right? And then it will push all the changes that I have done directly into the master branch, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to the MS Club organization, and I just refresh the page. Here you can see this is the last commit at root endpoint, which is the one that I just committed a few seconds ago. So now we are going to create a CI/CD pipeline, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actions. So this is GitHub actions. We are going to create a CI/CD pipeline using GitHub actions, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to this actions tab, which is inside your repository. So in here, actions means actually when we talk about open source projects, so there are so many like actions happen in organization, right? So basically action means if an organization like has some repository and we want to deploy it somewhere, like deployment environment, that is also action. So if we want to create a continuous integration, which means a CI workflow, it is also an action. And if we want to greet some newly added new contributor like hello, like some greetings, this is also an action, right? So those are the actions that we can use in GitHub under GitHub actions. So in this one we are going to create a CI/CD pipeline for Node.js application. Here you can see it is automatically recommend to have a Node.js CI pipeline, right? CI/CD pipeline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this workflow. So here you can see it will automatically generate some code. I will go through this one by one. So basically, so it's a YAML file, which basically another another extension for text file. So it's basically YAML file. So in here, it will automatically create a folder called .github, and inside that folder there is another folder called workflows. Inside these workflows, we will have our workflow YAML file. So this will commit it directly into the main branch at the end, right? So in here, this is we will first specify the name specify the name of this workflow, right? This is optional. This is, if you want, you can ignore this one. This is just just specify Node.js CI. I just change it to ITP session CI/CD, something like that. So if you can give whatever you want, right? So this is the event, right? This inside under this on, right? This will specify some events. So what are the events actually? Events mean the things that will happen into this repository basically. So in here push is an event. Whenever you push some code base into a repository, that is an event, right? Whenever you create a pull request, that is an event, right? So we will specify the events under tag called on, right? Inside in this portion, we will specify what are the branches that we want to execute this workflow. So for now, we want to execute this entire workflow only for the main branch, right? So whenever you push some code base into this main branch, this the job that we specify below. I will come back to these things. Give me some minutes. I will come back to this place. Come back to this one. So if you push some code into the master branch, this job will get executed, right? So if I create a pull request to the main branch, this job also start execute. So this is how we can specify what are the events and what are the branches that we want to execute this workflow, right? Okay, so this is how we can specify workflow. If you want to execute this execute this job to multiple branches, like in here we have another branch. If you have a branch called development, like dev, you can specify your branch name in here, dev. So this is how we can specify branches that we want to execute this job. So this is doing that process. So this is the job. Now we can talk the jobs itself, right? So in job, inside this job, it will have a attribute called like build. So basically it will create a build of our, like basically it will create an artifact of our application, right? So and this will specify what is the environment that we are going to run this job, right? We are going to specify like runs on Ubuntu latest, which Ubuntu latest means.
Rusiru,
Yeah.
Can you zoom your
Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. So yeah, this is the event that is on under on tag, and this is the job itself, right? So in this job, it will basically create the artifact of our application, entire Node.js application, right? And it will runs on the Ubuntu latest. Ubuntu latest means, I hope you know what is Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a Linux-based Linux distribution, and it will use the latest version of the Ubuntu, right? So then this is the strategy, which means we can specify what are the Node version, because this is a Node application. In Node there are some versions, right? Node version 12, 14, 15, 16, right? So we can specify what are the Node version that we want to execute, right? Execute this application. So in here we have Node version 12, 14, 16. I just remove the 16. I just want to have I just want to run this job only for Node version 12 and 14, right? So you can specify any Node version that you want to run this workflow in here, and then these are the steps this job will run, right? So first, this will use an action. First, it will check out our branch. So this action, I can like quickly show you action in here. So just give me a second. Yeah, in here. In this action is also it's also a organization. In this organization, here you can see this is checkout in actions, which is this organization action, and in this action there is a repository called checkout. If you just like go just save and just check out in here, this is a repository, right? It will basically use for check out our repository, right? So we can specify the version, we will use the version 2, right? So this basically do it for you. You don't need to touch, you don't need to implement like something in here. It will take care of open source contributors, open source engineers, right? You don't need to touch anything in that repository. So then the name that we can specify, so we can I will show you these exact same messages when this CI pipeline gets get started. So what I'm going to do is this is the just name that you can like specify, right? This will basically this is like a string concatenation in YAML file. Like it will basically tell, go to this matrix and grab the node version, right? Go to this matrix and grab the node version, and it will display like use node.js 12.x, right? At the runtime it will display like this. So and then it will action and setup node, again it will it is also inside this actions organization, right? I'm not going to like explain it again, like setup node version, right? So in here it will actually use with the node version, like these are the node version that is specified in here. It will start execute node version for versions for 12 and 14. So after these things are done, it will run our CI pipeline, which is continuous integration pipeline. So then it will run npm. Now you know what is npm, right? So it will run npm command like npm CI, and then npm run build, right? Npm run build if present, right? If not, it will not execute that command, right? Npm run build, and then npm run test. If you specify some test cases, it will what you call it, it will execute those test cases, right? So this is all together we called workflow file. So I hope you get something out of it. I'm not going to explain this like most of this stuff because there are little time like remaining. So what I'm going to do is I will commit this YAML file directly to our main branch. So what I'm going to do is I just give a commit message at workflow file, and then commit new file. So and here you can see what then now I'm going to go to the action. Here you can see now it start executing those CI pipeline. Here you can see it will run the, here you can see setup job, and it is here you can see this is only work for Node.js 12 and 14, right? Which is the things that I specified inside our YAML file. Here you can see all the things are CI/CD, CI pipeline is working fine. So now we can connect this repository with our Heroku. So and eventually we can host this into some kind of hosting platform, right? Hosting server. So now I navigate to I hope you guys have something like get something out of this one, like workflow, about workflows. So now I'm going to host this repository to Heroku, like, which is really simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to Heroku dashboard. You can create a Heroku profile using your set email and also your private email as well. So after successfully created the Heroku account, what you can do is actually you can create an application. So what I'm going to do is I click on this new, and here click create new app, right? So in this new app, I'm going to specify a name. I just specify ITP MS Club, right? ITP MS Club. It will check if the name is available. The name should be unique. So after name is available, you can choose a region. So they only have United States and Europe. So I will stick with the United States. So and then I'll create a Heroku application. So after creating Heroku application, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link our repository. So what is our repository? ITP application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to GitHub, which is this one, and connect to GitHub. So yeah, so I think I need to yeah, I think I need to I think I have to access MS Club organization. I think I don't have the basically this is not displaying MS Club, so yeah.
I think you don't have the access to admin level. Yeah.
That's the issue.
Let me try to give you admin access. I think I have admin access.
So basically, if when you're going to implement your one, most probably your account will be displayed in here. So you can directly go to search your repository and then add it to the this Heroku application. So yeah, can't access this one. Yeah. So I think it's working right. I just refresh the page. So in here, what I'm now it's now it's visible. Yeah, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I select the MS Club SLIIT, which is our organization. Inside the MS Club SLIIT, we have our repository, right? ITP application. What I'm going to do is I just search ITP application. Like I just put first characters. Then it will automatically search the our repository organization and display the ITP application repository. This is the exact same repository, right? So I'm not going to create I'm not creating separate repository. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this repository with our Heroku application. I just connect it, and then so now it's successfully connect. So we can choose our branch that we want to deploy. So I want to here you can see we have two branches, front end, feature, backend, main. So I want to host the main branch. So what I'm going to do is I select main, wait for CI pass, which means before if I put this thing, it will execute that CI pipeline that we integrated into our repository workflow before deploy anything into this into the Heroku, right? So enable automatic deploys. So and then I will click deploy branch, right? So it will start deploying our application, which will create a artifact. So yes, here is the terminal output. So here you can see it start build. You can see build is success. Now it's compressing. I hope you guys can see now, right? So it's done, right? It's now launching our URL. So with using this URL, we can access our backend API. I hope you remember before I comment these things to check our backend API is successfully hosted. I create a root endpoint which will render ITP backend API. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this URL that is given from the Heroku, just copy it, and then what I'm going to do is I just so here you can see our backend is successfully hosted, right? Here you can see the exact same message that I have gave in here, ITP backend is now hosted, right? This is not a local thing, right? This is entirely hosted to the internet. So is really simple, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this URL. So now I know what our backend is hosted successfully. What I'm going to do is now I want to host my front-end application as well. So to do that, actually I want to create a repository to push my code base before hosting my front-end application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this terminal up and then change the directory to cd. So this is the last one, guys. Just bear with me a moment. Like cd student management front end, right? Okay, then what I'm going to do is, sorry, so what I'm going to do is actually because I just give a command called git init. I know now you guys have better understand about what are those commands. So basically I initialize my front-end application, which is a student management system front end. And what I'm going to do is git I can just check whether git status, right? So and I just git add all, right? Then it will add and git commit, right? I just put in like ITP front end application, right? And then here you can see I'm not going to like directly come. I'm still not creating repository for that. If you try to commit those changes directly into this repository, I don't recommend to do it, because if you want, just keep two separate repositories for backend and frontend. Like, don't put all the backend and frontend content inside one repository, because we are at the end we are going to host the application, right? We are going to host the backend application separately and front-end application separately. So what I'm going to do is I quickly create a new repository called ITP front-end. Like I just ITP front-end, right? It's just a public. Just make it as public and then create a repository. So now you know this interface, right? Because Lasal is also explaining what is this interface. So what I'm going to do is I just copy this remote URL, which is like a reference to this repository. I just add this. I just paste this command, right? Just hit enter, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this git push origin main, because I'm just instead of main I just put git push origin master, right? And then just hit enter. Then it will start I have created, right? So here, yeah, it's now successfully pushed. So if I refresh the page, so it will contain all the front-end application that I have created in here. So again, I'm going to navigate to the actions, right? So now go to the actions, and I'm going to create a workflow the front end as well. So now I'm not going to explain it again, because now you guys know what is happening in here. So I just commit those changes directly to the master branch. Just commit those changes, and then I go to the actions, and then here you can see yeah, GitHub workflows, yeah, master branch. Yeah, I think it's not executing, so let me check. Okay, npm run build npm run start. Okay, I just edit something in here to just check whether it is working. ITP Reactive, say, in the workflow. Right, commit changes, right? And then I will navigate to the actions. Yeah, now it's working, right? I think my connection is, yeah, now it's real, like run twice, like it's not a problem. So like I think something is failing just what we just test, then just yeah, it is installing all the dependencies, right? So just check if it is run successfully. Yeah, there is some errors. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I just check because okay, testing warnings. Okay, define values. React scripts build. I think we need to specify npm install first. I think because yeah, in here I think I think we need to specify npm install, because otherwise it won't install anything. Run npm install, and this I just put modify. Okay, just check whether it is working. If it is not working, we can actually host the application. It's not a problem. We actually run the pipeline to check whether it is our application is working fine. So just wait until it's run, and if it is not working, I'll continue with continue with the hosting. So it will install all the npm necessary dependencies, right? So then it will start executing npm build, right? Okay, it is again failing. Yeah, so sorry, let keep that as it is. Even though it is failing, we can host our application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another application for front end. I create a new app saying that ITP MS Club front end, right? Front end, and then it will available. Yeah, it is name is available. I create application. So when you going to host your React application, there is something like new. You have to go to a repository called I think it is create a React app build pack. So this is also a GitHub repository. It will basically use for hosting, Heroku hosting. It will basically grab all the npm, grab all the necessary dependencies for run our React application. So it is really easy. Just copy this URL, right? Just copy this URL and then go to the settings, right? Inside settings, in here you can see build packs, right? You need to add this build pack in here and save changes, right? It will add the build pack like this. It will help to, here you can see, if you read this message, build pack are script that run that are run when your application is deployed, right? They are used to install dependencies for your application and configure your environment, right? So this is help to do that, right? So now things are easy. So what I'm going to do is I will connect this application with GitHub. So yeah, it's 11 p.m. Like, give me a second. I just choose MS Club SLIIT, and what is our repository? Our repository is ITP frontend, right? And just select search ITP and run. Here you can see we have ITP frontend. I will connect this ITP frontend to our this Heroku application and enable automatic deploys. I'm not going to if you want, you can check this one, but I'm going to don't untick this one because our pipeline is failing. So it's not time to figure what is the actual error, so I'm not going to do it. Like I want to host the master branch, and I click deploy the branch. So, and also I think there are some issues we will face after deploying this one, right? So yeah, give me a second. Push failed. Yeah, yarn lock npm yarn have missing attributes here. So let's check. Yes, check whether what other issue. Okay, in here React scripts. Okay, so we need to, instead of actually another thing that we need to just give me a second. We need to connect our backend URL. Yeah, I just open the app. This is our backend URL. What I'm going to do is, instead of localhost in here, right, in here I just put our hosted URL in here, right? This is our URL. So I just save these changes and I'll git add all. Yes, git add all, git commit, and then message add hosted URL, right? And then git push origin name, right? Sorry, origin master. I just so yeah, what is the issue? So I just try to okay, now changes are like committed to the backend. So I just refresh the page. So then it will start a pipeline, but it's going to be fail, like, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll try to redeploy the thing. Yeah, I'm going to deploy the branch. Yeah, not this one. Yeah, not this one, only the front end thing, right? So yeah, I'm going to deploy it, deploy, and then deploy the branch, master branch. Just give start deploying. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it has some issues like downloading build pack. Those have some issues. So for the time being, actually we can stop in here actually, because if I try to figure it out what is the error, that is also time like some time consuming. So basically keep touch with our YouTube channel. Basically I will create basically we will create a separate YouTube video for this one, so we can like entirely teach you guys how you can host your application. So sorry about that, this build is getting failed. So yeah, but even we actually successfully host our backend at least. So but dinonna මොකද
it's okay. So we have almost
yeah,
8 hours, no?
still we have 200 attendees.
Yeah. Yeah, after we upload, because even we have previous sessions as well, we had to upload previous sessions. So once we once we figure out the things on YouTube channel, then we can email you the channel links as well. So because since we are having your emails, so once we upload, then we will give you update. So keep in touch your SLIIT email addresses as well. So yeah, we'll stop this point. Oh, Jonathan.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can actually have a separate video for this one.
Yeah,
I'll,
for deployment, for CI/CD
Yeah,
deployment. No?
yeah, CI/CD
Okay,
deployment.
I think Rusiru has successfully created the pipeline for backend, but the only thing was
Yeah, some
on front end.
dependency issue.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, we will find out the issues. I will most probably post some YouTube videos for our Miss Club website, right? So I'll
Yeah, and
handle this.
the thing is, guys, don't worry, because we know this is a long running video, so we can upload this video into partition wise, and we can we got it some segment wise, we can upload this video, so don't worry for that. Even previous session also we are going to upload, so don't worry. We know it's too much for you if you are new to these technologies, so we know it's too much. So but thank you very much for being.
Yeah, actually.
5 hours.
5 hours is still
Almost like 5 hours, right?
yeah,
Almost fast.
almost 5 hours. Yeah. So thank you guys for being with
Jonathan,
us.
anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to. I'm so impressed. Like I came at the last moment, and this has been there for 5 hours, and there's only 3 speakers. It just brings us back some memories. Like from even Kiana is here, so I can just say like this time ITP sessions have really improved from what we did last time, Nandinwan.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
only.
And I'm very happy that
last
it
time
has
only 6
happened
speakers
like
were
that.
there, because myself, Gyanaya, Jonathan, then Durex, come only 5 or 6 speakers were there. But it's nice to see this time it's vastly improved. Even at the end also, you will be getting another session for finalizing your ITP projects. So
Yeah,
but
I think like that's all. I think that's this all about, right? Like improving ourselves. Like we
yes,
were
definitely.
improved better than last year, and I'm really happy for like this 209 attendees. Like when I joined first, there was around 600 attendees, I guess.
No,
So
700 pass at one
yeah,
point.
all right. So like anyway, like now we have 208 people here. I think these are the people who will like who really need this and who really get something out of this. Like I'm really happy to see all 208 of you after all these 5 years, like almost 6 hours. So it's really great to have like see all the attendees here, and Senura, Rasal, Rusiru, great job. You covered a lot, and I came time to time and see how you guys were doing, and it's really impressive. And I definitely invite you all to check these check their like YouTube channel. So they have like great set of videos if you're interested in MERN stack, not only MERN stack but also other technologies as well. So keep up the good work, guys. Great job.
Thank you again. Yeah.
And most importantly, because even initially we have planned to conduct this session on 11th, yesterday actually, 11th July, so at around 5 p.m. But when considering about your timetables, we got to know that, there are some lectures crashing with our session. That's why we scheduled to today. But unfortunately, we have to go with 6 p.m. because these speakers are getting off from offices at around 5 p.m. So that's why we kept it as a 6 p.m. So if we know actually it's too much for you, but these people will not have enough time to do in future. So that's why we kept as a one session. So even like you, they also exhausted, like just finishing their office work at 5:30, then spending more than 5 hours for here. Yeah. Then and one thing, because most of you have asked how to get how to balance your work in second year, second semester, so while learning these new technologies. So I would say it's up to you, because it's your tolerance and it's your dedication. So how you can commit for your project, how you can dedicate to learn something new, then it make better future for you. So you should have to understand, you guys should capable with accepting challenges. So with a great, I'm pretty sure, because almost 200 plus students were there, are there. So if you guys have a great determination, so you can achieve these things. But when it comes to third year, don't worry, you will be getting more than 10 plus workload rather than this. So definitely, so don't be confused with second year, second semester. It's having like whether it's having large workload. So yeah, when it comes to third year, fourth year, definitely you will be getting much more than workload. Yeah, Jonathan, what we can say?
Yeah, so I just want to continue with what Dinwan left off. So I saw a lot of people also mentioning that this is new to them and how to manage time and everything. Now I can personally say a lot of people even in MS Club, they are not only doing, like, even Dinwan, for example, he's doing 2 degrees and he's doing an internship and he's managing all things. Even there was Gyana who did this, like he was doing an internship for 4 years at IFS and then parallelly running MS Club and also doing his academic works best. So it's all about the time is there. I would suggest while you're doing while you're watching a video, while doing watching like a tutorial on something, parallelly code on it. Like coding that and doing the practical will help you learn more than just watching a video and then forgetting
Jonathan,
about it.
sorry to interrupt you. So we have a feedback form we have shared. So kindly please fill that form, guys, because we want to get your thoughts as well. So yeah, Jonathan, keep continuing.
Yeah, so right now in the chat, I've sent you a link. Just go to the link. We are going to take a full word cloud here. So whatever you want to say about this session, whatever you want to say to the speakers, whatever you want to say to the MS Club of SLIIT, just in one word, if you can add it to the form, it will be great. We have around 194 students here. At least like if half of you all could go to the link. I would appreciate if everyone could go to the link and add your feedbacks and thought about this session. So once we have this, we can also share it with the rest of the students at SLIIT and they would get to know about the great work we are going to do. And we'll have more audience on the next sessions we are going to do. So it's going to be a win-win situation over here.
I think I have answered your most of your questions, but if I miss something, so apologize me, because as far as I have answered your questions, because I think more than 89 questions I have published. So yeah, we'll line up.
Yeah, let's wind up now. I want to thank the speakers again for spending their valuable time over here and doing a great job. So I'll keep the link on the chat open so anyone can go and add your feedback soon here. We see some more responses coming in.
Make sure to like our FB and LinkedIn, follow MS Club on Instagram as well, because our latest update will be posted on those social media when only you can get actually.
And we like subscribe to our MS Club.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
When we sharing you the link of those upload videos, please subscribe our channel. So still it's not created, actually it's already created, but we have not uploaded any video. And also I think Rusiru in after this session, because these people getting some kind of a break out of this session, after this session, so we are going to create a Medium article as well. So using that Medium article plus with that YouTube channel, we are going to create some new contents for you, because doing online webinars, like online live sessions like this, it's in future, in recent future, it's really like obstacle for our, or not obstacle, but it's really hard for our third year students while managing their work. So that's why we kept those things as offline video and those stuff. So you can subscribe our video channel and follow once we have shared with the necessary links, so follow up in Medium as well. Yeah, we'll wind up now.
Yeah.
Okay, with that being said, I believe we have reached the end of today's session. And as Dinwan and Sajid said, I'd like to kindly request you all to fill the feedback form, which is there in the chat, along with this one-word feedback. So that will help both you and ourselves to prepare and adjust accordingly for the third session, which will be held in future. Also, I would like to invite you all to get in touch with our LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook pages to get instant updates on our next events and so on. Finally, thank you Gihanaya, Jonathan, Dinwan and everybody who helped us to make this a success, especially the speakers and the organizers of today's event. At last, I would like to thank you all for joining with us today. Hope to see you in the next session. Have a good night.
Okay then, good night guys. Good night.
Good night all.